Hey podcast, just before we get you to this episode, I wanted to invite you to join us at pageantlaunch.com. We are starting the world's first dedicated pageant review site, and we want you to join our launch team. All you need to do is put in your email address. It's completely free. We are looking to make the pageant industry safe, transparent, and fair, and we'd love your input on how to do that. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, whack in your email address, and let's get you to this episode. Hey everyone, it's Adrian from, well, if you're tuning in, I assume I don't need to keep saying where I'm from, so I won't say that for once. I always say, hey Adrian, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project. Before I throw it over to Chloe, because I want her to run the interview the way she wants to run it, just quickly with the donations. So you'll see, I think most of you know which way is it. The donation link is over there, and it's also in the description to the video. It has changed because we had a bit of an issue with the donations where I was setting them up before, and I wasn't happy with that at all. It caused a bit of an issue, so I've updated it, and the Kickstarter goals below. I've set it to end in 13 days, a goal of £250, and we're almost halfway there. So if you want to help the pageant industry out, I'm sure a lot of you have read that really long post that I wrote about pageantry and why I think we need a pageant review site. If you want to donate to that, it's below me for a sec. Yeah, that music is because Danielle just donated. So I changed the music when people donate as well. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. I said I didn't expect Danielle to donate because she gives up so much of her time. Without further ado, Chloe Lake has been given the left-hand side, which is very unusual. I've never given anyone the left-hand side before. So, Chloe, thank you for doing this, and fire away, I guess.
So, this is the Pageant Project and Chat with Chloe crossover. You can even see that Adrian is actually using his personal handle. So, without further ado, Adrian, would you like to catch us up on what's been going on the past week and what you've got coming up in the future?
Oh God, the past week my life is a series of putting out fires at the moment. So, for example, working out what to do with this bloody donation stream. I spent, I think, 3 or 4 hours having to do that. That wasn't expected. And then planning the pageant review site, doing all the content creation that goes along with interviews. So, for example, normally when I have an interview, I'll put a little video, an intro video, so doing things like that, doing a little bit of research. I've been trying to stay active during lockdown. I won't say that I've been hugely successful, but I have been trying. And then coming up, there's a load of interviews. I mean, if I just look to my calendar on the side, so Saturday morning, I've got Evangeline Elshmanar, and then Edison on Saturday night, Hannah Bradley on Thursday night, Sadie Pullman on Sunday night, and then number 100th guest, which you can get me to reveal when you want. You know who it is. You guess without further prompting.
I know who it is, but I feel like we'll leave that to the end. We'll keep everyone in suspense unless they've already been able to guess. But obviously a lot of people have been sending over questions, and a lot of them have been around your origin story. Now, I know that you've done a bit of a video on this before, but just for those that may not have watched it, would you mind explaining how the Pageant Project came to be and why pageants?
Okay, I'll probably let's answer the second one first. The why pageants is because I'm a huge proponent of women's empowerment, and that happened because I used to be tennis coaching at an all-girls school, and then I saw some of the problems that young women have in particular. I'm not saying that young women have worse or easier or whichever way. It's not worse or better or anything than guys, but it's different, right? I remember seeing a young girl who had ritually cut herself, and literally there were parallel cuts on her forearm, and I started seeing things like that. Eating disorders, and I'm always someone who wants to help. I'm a certified life coach. I don't think many people know that, and I've done a lot of that, so I wanted to help. So I got involved in women's empowerment, and then I guess this leads into the first part of the question you asked, which is how did this all start? I wanted to interview empowering women. I just thought that would be cool because I wanted to give these girls role models to look up to, not necessarily celebrities, because I don't really like people. I think you can look up to people for being famous, but they're not necessarily good role models, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wanted to interview sort of everyday people. So I started doing that. Then one of them happened to be a pageant competitor. And I thought, that's interesting. She's really, really pretty, really attractive, but she's obviously also really driven, and she can actually talk. It's not the typical, stereotypical blonde Barbie thing. So I went along to one of her what do you call it, charity events. This was way back. I think this was back in 2016, and I've mentioned Tasha's name many times. So her name was Tasha Ross. Went to her event, met a couple of other pageant girls, started interviewing more, and then it's kind of like corona. Once you catch it, it's like a virus and it spreads everywhere. So I became the virus and I spread everywhere. And because at that time, Chloe, I was interviewing everyone. I've interviewed recording artists, I've interviewed entrepreneurs, I've been to New York to interview some of these recording artists. But as the pageant thing sort of kicked off, I realized more and more of my interviews were becoming pageant related, and not that that was a bad thing, but I didn't want it to be confused. I didn't want people to look at what I was doing and going, hang on, why are you always interviewing pageant girls and you're not interviewing anyone else? So I thought, okay, well, let's just set up something separate for pageantry so I can focus just on that and people won't be confused about it. And then that took off more than the other thing that I was doing. So I thought, okay, let's just do the pageant side for a year and see what happens. And then frankly, as I've mentioned before, the Australian part was kind of dying out for me because no one was watching. Which is not good when you put as many hours as I do into my interviews. It's not good when no one watches. So then I interviewed Maria Torres, and I think she's in the stream as well because I've seen that she's liked the stream. I interviewed Maria. And look, it all kicked off with Maria, long story short. And then I started interviewing people in the UK. And then, I mean, Chloe, you can tell people what happened after that. I don't know exactly how it happened. I'm very grateful that it happened, to the point where I go over, to UK Galaxy, what seems a lifetime ago, pre-lockdown, but it's like a month and a half ago, and everyone knows me. Everyone's asking for photos, and I was like, crap, what am I doing here? How did this happen? So that's the long and short of it. I hope that answers the question. It's a much longer, more involved story, but the details don't really matter so much. That's the important stuff.
So how did you find UK Galaxy? I know you've posted bits and pieces on your Instagram and your Facebook page, but I know a lot of girls were telling you before the competition, you're going to be pestered for photos, everyone's going to know who you are. When did that sink in for you, and how did you find the whole experience of being here in our pageant land?
I loved it. It was slightly overwhelming, just because you walk in you got to understand, you do a 24-hour flight and you walk into a room where you've never been before, and for people to start recognizing you, it's a little surreal. I'm certainly not used to it. But I also don't take it for granted at all. I appreciate anyone who watches, anyone and everyone who watches, even if they watch one thing or it's a like on a post. I don't take any of that for granted. But when I first started interviewing UK girls, my gut instinct, and I do trust my gut instinct a lot, was that there was something different about the UK versus Australia. And I couldn't quite pinpoint it, and I got really curious. I went, okay, I'm going to interview a lot of these UK girls and find out what's the difference, because they're driving 8 hours to go to an appearance, whereas in Australia, they won't drive 30 minutes. I was like, there's something different. And a lot of the people in the Australian community got a little upset with that. They're going, oh, no, you got to understand, we're different, we're far away from everyone. And I'm like, yeah, not 8 hours away. Yeah. And then after I interviewed enough and got to know a lot of you guys well enough, And then obviously when I got to UK Galaxy, it was very clear there is a family element to UK pageantry that doesn't exist in Australian pageantry. It exists on a smaller scale, but you don't have that quintessential last night at Galaxy where everyone's sitting at the bar, not at the bar, but in the bar area.
Yeah.
A lot of people in their PJs, slumming it up, eating chips, eating pizza, having a drink, a cheeky bevy, as you guys would say. and that sums it up. I love that. That was my favorite part of it. So it all started really because I thought there's something different about you guys over up there where it's always cold. And I found out what it was. So at the end of it, I'm very happy that I found out what it was, and I'm very happy that I was right, because I like being right. You're not the only one that's competitive.
Yeah, no, I always like being right. But I think the girls in the UK are really, really grateful to have you, and for the way that you facilitate our stories and what we hope to achieve through obviously the Pageant Project. I mean, I can see some people in the comments, Lauren Parkinson, who has also asked me to ask you if she's your favourite Welsh girl. She's saying that it's great to see a male figure championing pageant girls. Shaz Miller has said that you're part of a big family, and I think definitely I can speak for so many of the pageant community in the UK. We love that you're a part of it now, and we hope to see you over here. That this year wasn't the first time, and it's not going to be the last time.
Oh, it won't be the last time. I hope not, unless Corona never goes away, in which case, well, that's different. But even then, I think I'd probably swim over. Who knows?
So do you have any plans to come over, obviously Corona pending, to any other pageants in the UK, or is it just going to be that Galaxy weekend?
Well, I know, speaking of Lauren is in Miss Wales. It's now moved to August. And I honestly, I think that's probably 50-50 whether that will happen. But if that happened, I would love to be over there if I could. I know the Pageant Girl Weekender is coming up. In my mind, that's probably a bit too soon. I don't think if I could, I don't think I'd be able to travel over. And then obviously there's the October. There's a pageant coming up in October.
Which one? Team Great Britain is in October.
One. Yeah. So look, I've got lots of plans. It's just a question of when can I actually travel, and it certainly won't be the last time, because going to UK Galaxy, you have to understand, it's the first time I've really enjoyed going to a pageant for a long time. Because as I said, in Australia, you have to understand, I put a lot of hard work into it, and I love a lot of the Aussie girls, don't get me wrong, but it's just, it was drying up, it was flatlining, I needed to do something different. So UK Galaxy for me was a breath of fresh air, and I really, really enjoyed it.
I mean, obviously you kind of kicked off the whole Galaxy thing with interviewing Maria Torres, and I know that you've interviewed a lot of Galaxy contestants, past queens, queens in waiting, and obviously the current queens as well. What about the Galaxy system specifically has drawn you to do so many interviews with the Galaxy girls?
Okay, so do you mean the UK Galaxy girls in particular, or just Galaxy girls in general?
Galaxy as a whole.
The simple answer is blame Maria. I mean, I gotta say, I interviewed Maria, and she was a first director, and is she the only one? She may be still the only director that I've interviewed, and I didn't do that lightly. I did that because I saw Maria was interacting with my stuff on social media, and even when I put up some of the more prickly stuff about things that I thought could change in pageantry, she would still interact with that. Very often what I find is that when I put up some of that prickly stuff, the directors disappear and they all go really quiet because they know I'm right and they don't want to talk about it because that's awkward. Maria didn't do that at all. So I went, okay, this is someone who's taking the time to interact with your stuff. She's not afraid to tell you when she disagrees, or she's not afraid to more specifically explain why certain things were the way they were. And I love that. Because I hate it when I see something that I don't think is right and I say it and no one explains it to me. I'm like, well, obviously it's just wrong then, and you're doing something wrong, and that you shouldn't do that. Whereas when someone explains, oh, this is why we do it, then I can at least go, oh, okay, that makes sense. So basically, I just put it all in my faith that Maria was a good person, and that's proven to be correct. I'm not saying she's perfect, no one is, but it was all off that. And then I started interviewing the Galaxy girls, and I just got really, really curious because I enjoyed the interviews, and a lot of them wanted to be interviewed, and the whole thing just blew up. And I think it was like 30 interviews in 30 days. I was doing 2 interviews in a day on certain occasions. It was manic. But I just loved the fact that because coming again from Australia, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to continue the Pageant Project, to be honest. And then finding Maria, and then finding all these other people overseas, that was like a breath of fresh air. So I really ran with it. So really it's Maria. Obviously the girls are lovely, but I wouldn't ever want to interview a lot of girls from one system unless I believed in the system. I'm not going to interview a bunch of, for example, let's take Europe Continental, the one that last year scammed a whole lot of girls overseas.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to interview anyone competing in that system, even if they were the loveliest person in the world, because I don't want to give any publicity to a system that I don't believe in. So, blame Maria is a
Oh, 100%. But I think that's probably one of the things that I personally found so special about Galaxy, is because Maria is so invested in it, and is so upfront and honest about her style as a director, about what Galaxy stands for. It is very transparent, and I think that's why she commands so much respect. In Galaxy as a system, especially over here, it does command so much respect. Now, I have had a load of questions. I think everyone's seen this as an opportunity to go, right, let's put Adrian under loads of pressure, because he puts us under loads of pressure.
I do not.
So
I don't put any. This is the thing. I was just interviewing the two teens, Ellie and Bethany, and both of them before the interview, they're going, "Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm more nervous for this than my actual interview." I'm like, why? And then afterwards, they go, "Oh, that was so much fun." And I was like, yeah. I've never put. I could, if I wanted to, make things very awkward and ask very prickly questions. And sometimes people have said, "Why don't you do that?" It's like, because then no one would want to be interviewed. I mean, maybe some people would, but most people wouldn't. Fire away, Chloe.
I mean, you did ask me some rather interesting questions about Donald Trump, etc.
That's because you're a brain.
I do. So I've got a question here from Rachel Stevens, who is a finalist in Miss Wales, and I do like this question. She has asked, can you spot a winner from a sea of finalists just by interviewing them on the podcast or interviewing them in general?
No. If I get to know someone and I get to know the system, I can probably tell you who's got a decent chance of making a top whatever, but no, I couldn't pick a winner. I mean, I know probably UK Galaxy better than almost any other system. I couldn't have tell you who was going to win. I could maybe tell you a top 5, but even then I wouldn't bet my house on it, because I mean, we never really know who's going to win, do we? So I don't have a special insight into that. And to clarify, if anyone asks, I have no sway over any decisions anywhere. If that changes, I'll let you know, but no one has ever asked me to do any of that. So no, I don't, is a short answer. I don't have the golden touch, but I've been very lucky, because obviously a lot of the people I have interviewed have gone on to do really well. A lot of the people you've worked with, Chloe, have gone on to do really well. And you just got to take it as it comes.
You do. But leading on from that then, what, in your opinion, makes a winner? What makes someone worthy of carrying a title for a year?
Oh, God. Firstly, I think worthiness is something that comes from within. I can't tell you that you're worthy and then you are worthy. You have to feel that yourself. What I look for, first and foremost, is someone who's going to do the work. I can't stand a queen who wins and then does nothing. And there are so many examples around. And now you're really seeing it, because at the moment, everyone's in lockdown. So a lot of people going, oh, I can't do anything. That's not good enough. It's really not good enough. Your job as a queen is to find a way, no matter how tough it is. So whether it's doing something online, whether it's doing a live, whether it's organizing an interview, I've seen a few queens jump on and start doing interviews. Whatever it is you got to do, because your job as a queen is to help the people who follow you. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are really bored at the moment. So your job at the moment is to inspire them, is to entertain them, not simply to go, oh, I have no idea how to do it, so I'm going to give up. So I think first and foremost, it's the work hard ethic. And then probably after that, the only thing I really look for is someone who's interesting. And by that, I don't ever say that someone is boring. I might think it, but you got to understand that when you've done as many interviews as I have, like obviously coming up to 100 with the Pageant Project, and then with all the other ones, I'll be closing in on 300 sooner rather than later. It's very easy for me to pick when someone is being disingenuous or someone is trying to front. And I didn't have this skill before. It's just because I've done so many interviews. I'm not saying I'm so great, I can tell. When you've done as many interviews as I have, you can very easily tell when someone is saying the things they think you want to hear. So that is something that I think is something that I look for, and someone who has someone who's interesting, someone who can, what do you guys say? Is it bants? Have bants? Is that how you say it?
Banter.
Banter, yeah, someone who can laugh, someone who's interesting, but also can have a bit of a laugh. I don't like it when people are super serious. It's not fun for me. So that might explain to you why I picked Lauren and Danielle for the podcast. By the way, because
100%, and I think as well from a personal perspective, again, taking myself too seriously is something that I've learned how not to do through pageants, because no one wants to listen to someone that's going to drone on and on and on in the same monotone voice for how long. And obviously when you're a queen, your job first and foremost is to be a voice that people want to listen to.
Yeah, well, that's why I did interviews, because I didn't want to listen to myself. So I'd rather listen to someone else. So in my interviews, I try to speak as little as possible, because I feel that if I'm, as an interviewer, if I'm speaking the majority of the time, the interview is going badly. So if you're on an interview with me and I'm talking a lot, either I'm, I don't know, drunk off my face and can't remember what I'm doing, or I felt like I had to pick up the slack for you, and I'm glad to say I don't think that's ever really happened. And there are other people who do interviews and they want to talk a lot about themselves. I've said this, I don't know if you saw it, but that's why I prefer UK talk shows to American talk shows, because in American talk shows, the host wants to talk about himself all the time, whereas in UK talk shows, they get the guests to talk. And isn't that much more interesting, that listening skill and prompting you in a way that helps make you interesting? I love that much more than talking about myself.
Now, over in the comments, I can see that Lynn Lake, my mum, has asked, would you ever like to judge a pageant? Would you like to be the one with the power?
I have done that before here in Australia. I think once or twice in a couple of smaller pageants. I've said this before. I'm slightly uncomfortable with it for two reasons. One, I don't know that what I'm looking for when it comes to walks and things like that. I know a lot more now than I did 2 years ago, but I still don't feel comfortable judging a walk. I don't think it's as simple as a lot of people tell me that it is. So that's one thing. And also, two, now that I know so many people, and this is more important, I'm uncomfortable for that sort of moral and ethical reason. Yeah. Like, I know subconsciously there's going to be people up there that I know. I want them to do well. And I just don't feel comfortable towing that line. I think it's very, very tricky, and I wish a lot more people would address that and say, no, I'm not going to judge because I know this girl, whereas I've seen a lot of people go, I know this girl, I'm going to judge. Like, no, don't do that. I would love to, but those two things are huge for me.
100%. So we've had two of the same question again from Claire Beebe and Lauren Whitelaw. They have actually asked, if you theoretically could enter any pageant system as a pageant girl, what would it be and why?
As a pageant girl?
As a pageant girl.
Well, I mean, obviously I love Galaxy, but I feel that's too obvious an answer. If I take out the obvious answer, I'm someone who likes to aim for the top, so I'd probably go for Universe. Also, I mean, I have the height. Okay. I mean, I'm 6'1", so maybe I'm too tall, but I definitely have the height. Why is because, like many of you guys, I am actually super competitive. You just don't really see it because I'm the one that's interviewing. but I'm not going to do anything and go for second. Let's put it that way. So I'm super competitive. So I would like to take out the biggest title. That's why. No deep and meaningful reason behind that.
You just want to be the best. Now,
Yeah,
Megan
that goes for everything.
She's actually put, I can totally see you as a Galaxy girl. So, you know, maybe on the cards. Maybe not a Galaxy girl, but maybe Mr. Galaxy. We could make this happen.
Maria, is Mr. Galaxy happening? Because I know I haven't been to your website for a bit. I saw Mr. Galaxy and it was like kind of a pending or coming soon. So if that might actually motivate me to get into shape, Chloe, because at the moment I'm a bit of a potato.
Well, aren't we all at the moment? I mean, that's me at the minute in lockdown. But you could fly over, you know, be part of Team Australia as Mr. Galaxy Australia. We've got Duncan over here, Mr. Galaxy UK.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't. People would need to tell me what the criteria are, because I've seen some Mr. pageants and I look at them and go, that's just not me. I'm not going to get up on stage and do some of the stuff that they do, and I certainly don't look like they do. So I'd need to find the right system for me, whatever that system is. But this is all hypothetical. This is not something I've been giving a lot of thought to. Believe me, Maria has said you're already an honorary Mr. Galaxy.
There we go. Now, circling back to the Pageant Project, Sophie Wallace, who you are interviewing very soon, has actually asked, what is the big goal overall? What do you want to achieve with the podcast?
The overall goal is to be the biggest and best in the world. To put it succinctly, I do have very specific plans for that. That's not just, I want to be the best. I do have specific plans that I won't divulge, because it's not a good idea to give away all your business plans. But thanks almost entirely to the UK, and then obviously I have a support base here, which if there's anyone watching from Australia, I saw Catherine Adamson was watching before, and she's from Australia. But I have specific plans as to what to do with the pageant review site, and to branch off that, and some ideas off of that, and business ideas off of that, and all of it is aimed at putting back into the pageant community and making it a better and a safer place and getting more people involved. So that is the big goal at the moment, which is why I'm doing, again, the Kickstarter with the donations, because I really want to get that review site up and running. And once it's up and running, I have ideas as to how to really grow that very quickly, because I have a background in business and social media, which won't surprise anyone given what I do. And I have a very tech mind and a strategic mind, so I can see what I want to do. Sometimes it's just frustrating that I can't get it done as quickly as I would like, but let's say that the end goal is in mind, and when I get there, you will know. See, what I love about you guys over in the UK, someone, bless them, put up an Instagram about a pageant. They call themselves, I think, Pageant Review or something, and they put up that they're the first pageant, like UK pageant review, and I didn't see it. And I don't mind if someone does that. I don't mind a bit of competition. I really don't care. And I don't care if someone steals my idea, because frankly, I'll do it better than you do. That's the competitive side again. I don't mind that. But I had 3 people, whilst I was on an interview, I got off the interview and had 3 people message me going, have you seen this? And is this you? And I was like, I looked at it and went, oh, no, it's not me. But they had all taken it upon themselves to let me know that someone else had started up a pageant review thing. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like I've literally got eyes and ears everywhere at the moment. I feel like I'm the spy master. But there are big plans. Now. Oh God, don't say that. There are big plans, even up to and including, for example, getting people to publish things for me, blog posts, people being contributing editors, things like that. Even getting other people to do some of the interviews, so it's not just me doing them, giving people such as yourself a chance to spread their interview wings and grow another skill set, because that is something that I would love to contribute to, because with a lot of you branching into online stuff and you want to interview other people, I know from first-hand experience how difficult it is and how confronting it is sometimes to interview someone and you go, oh, should I have a list of questions or should I not? So I'd love to get other people contributing and really spread the wealth around, because I feel very lucky what's happened in the UK, and I really want to give that back to the community. So a lot of plans, which I won't divulge all of, but there definitely are big plans. Let's put it that way. But I'll never forget the UK, don't worry.
Yeah, don't forget us when you're Mr. Big Time. Now, obviously, you did post a really upfront, transparent, and honest post on Facebook, and I would urge everyone that's watching, if you've not read it, go and find it and read it. It's really, really worthwhile. But I did notice in the comments some comments about the review site. So I think a lot of people, particularly over here, may be a little bit afraid of perhaps any negative backlash and things like that. So as maybe some words of reassurance, how do you hope to kind of create this review site to be, you know, transparent and honest first and foremost, but something that's not going to, you know, turn into something that's quite negative and scary for other people?
I guess since you're the one interviewing me, and sometimes I feel I should say something and then I go, maybe I shouldn't. I don't really care about reassuring people. And I'll tell you why, specifically because when I divulge an idea, it's not done off a whim. I've given it a lot of thought. Firstly, I go, if you're worried about it, that means probably you have something to hide. I know that's not strictly true. But when you say, oh, I'm worried that I'm going to get negative reviews, I'm like, well, why are you worried about that? Because in my mind, if someone came at me, I would be able to explain why they had that. Like, I would open a discussion, and this is one of the, I only have two things that I want in the industry, in the pageant industry. One of them is an open discussion. So if something propagates discussion, if something starts a discussion about something that's negative, to my mind, that's a good thing. And if you handle that well as a director or as a coach or whoever's getting the negative feedback, that's a chance for you to grow your brand and show people that you're not hiding. Because my experience has been, as I said before, when someone comes at them, they disappear. Or someone comes at them and they overreact. I don't like either of those options. To me, I want to see a proper discussion. So it's not so much about reassurance for me. The reassurance I will give is that we'll put a lot of thought and we'll figure this out as we go. A lot of reassurance in terms of if something is false or someone is just sour grapes, we will kick them out. We will get rid of that review. That's the only reassurance I'm going to give. And that goes for positive and negative reviews, by the way. If I ever find that someone has been paying someone or influencing someone to give positive reviews, I will kick them out faster than you can imagine. So a lot of this is about being completely upfront and transparent. And then people, what I've pointed to is, if you look at Airbnb, you look at Uber, you look at TripAdvisor, which is what we based it off of, these are all self-policed. Right? The review system is all self-policed, and they've worked better. Like, if you look at those sites, they've blown up. Uber, everyone uses Uber, right? It's a verb. You know, you've made it when you become a verb. You Uber somewhere. You don't catch a ride-sharing service. And that's all based off trust, which I have in the pageant community, right? Uber is based on trust. You're getting in a stranger's car. Like, that's what our parents taught us not to do, right? And nowadays, parents will more be happier to trust that your 16-year-old daughter gets in a stranger's car with Uber than drive home themselves. That's how much the world has changed. So I have trust in the pageant community that they will do the right thing 90, 95, 99% of the time. And secondly, for that 1% of the time when someone wants to kick up a fuss and they're screwing things up for everyone else, of course we need procedures to deal with that. But a lot of it is just common sense. So I'm asking people to have a bit of faith in me that I know what I'm doing, and that if there's an issue that needs to be resolved, I will try and resolve it in the fairest way possible, which is fair for both sides. And you know, there's nothing wrong with having an open discussion, open debate. I think that's actually something that is really sorely missing. I don't expect everyone to agree with me, but I expect that if you do disagree with me, that you let me know, that we can have a discussion about it, and then we can move forwards from there. So not really reassurance, but in terms of we will have procedures and policies. I'm not just going to put it out there and say, here, have, you know, do whatever you want. No, it's not going to be the Wild West, but we'll figure it out.
But even just saying that, it's, you know, it's urging people to have that confidence in you and in the honesty and the transparency that this is going to bring, which I think for someone that's been in this industry for coming up to 10 years in not a very long amount of time, that's amazing. Now, I've noticed in the comments, some other people might want some reassurance. However, as Lauren has said, that her and Danielle will be losing their spots on the podcast if you branch out.
Lauren is phobic about losing her spot in the podcast. No, you didn't. No, I mean, I told them before, like, I know they're given a lot of their time, so if at some point they need to tap out, then they need to do that. that's fine, but I have no plans on replacing them. Let's put it that way.
Cool. So they get their reassurance. Now, I've actually had a question from Effie Murphy, who is a diamond contestant over in Ireland. I know you're really, really keen on obviously having this open conversation, having this discourse around pageants. But she's asked specifically of you anything that you feel needs to be spoken about within the pageant industry that pageant girls can't bring up. Have you noticed anything?
Just give me a second. I'm going to make sure the live is still going, guys. If you can still see us, make sure that just tell us that you can still see us, because it's saying sorry, we're having trouble playing this video on my Facebook again. Do I think? Yes, I do. The dog is not mine. The dog is Chloe's.
Yeah, the dog is mine. I didn't realize you guys would be able to hear him.
It's fine. There are some things. I think I brought up the main ones already. I think first and foremost it's the transparency issue. I think that probably overarches everything. I've often said, Chloe, that I don't mind what criteria a pageant has or what a pageant is looking for in terms of their winner. So if they're looking for a straight out model who can't talk at all, that's fine with me, as long as you say that. You don't say it's about one thing and then it's about something else. So the transparency, I'm always going to push for greater transparency. So for example, you go to a pageant, are you allowed to get your scores back? Okay, let's take it in escalating levels. Can you get your scores back at all? Okay. Secondly, how long does it take you to get your scores back? Right? Thirdly, can you get your scores back and know who gave you what scores? Now, a lot of people will go, oh my God, like you can't do that. And I'm like, why not? If you look at, if you take pageantry as a competitive sport, which in essence it is, right? You look at figure skating or gymnastics, the way they're scored, you get the scores straight away. You know which judge gave you which score. And so there's very little chance of something untoward happening. Yes, it can still happen, right? But you do your thing, and then straight away up go the scores. You know exactly what points you've gotten, and then you can have that debate, did I deserve better or worse? But the scores are up there straight away. You know what you got, you know who gave you what scores. So there's no chance of one judge marking you down and you for no reason, and you never know why. And it's because they wanted someone else to win, or marking you up. So that's probably my main push, is for greater transparency. And I will probably always be pushing a little bit too hard for transparency, because I feel very much that there's too many people pushing the other way. Because what happens is, for a lot of people, if they have no transparency, it gives them power. So by that I mean, if a director can pick his or her winner, that gives them an inordinate amount of power. You have to understand this. So the only reason I can see that you wouldn't want transparency is you're afraid of losing that power, which is wrong. Or secondly, you are maybe afraid that you're going to be confronted or get blowback for it, which is possible. But I would say you'll gain more than you'll lose, because I think you'll gain more people's respect from being the first person to be completely open and transparent, and you may lose the 5 or 10% who want to be stupid about it. And there's always going to be that 5 or 10%, so why are we worrying about them? As I said, I don't mind having a bit of confrontation, because I think that gives you a chance to do the right thing and explain why you're doing it. And I think that's something that's missing a bit. So that's probably the main thesis that I have at the moment, and there's a lot of sort of sub-theses underneath that.
Okey-dokey. So obviously with the transparency, that would be easy for, well, we say easy. You would hope it would be easier for an older contestant to deal with, a Miss, a Mrs, Ms contestant. But with the younger ones, perhaps having that all, bearing everything, scores, do you hope that, it will teach them how to lose, teach them how to win graciously, or would you recommend having slightly less than complete transparency for the younger competitors?
See, this is really hard, because growing up in school, I was given every score. every result. You do a maths test, you don't get told that you did well and, you should keep trying. No, I want my score. And if someone told me they wouldn't give me my score, I would get really, really upset. Maybe because I'm competitive and I want to know, but also I want to know my score so I know where I can improve. And again, this may not sound very popular or very caring, but I think this is not a discussion, and you can agree or disagree with me in the comments, by the way. I don't feel this is a discussion that would come up if the industry was primarily male-centric. We would not be hearing so much about it if it was men who were dealing with low scores, because we feel that men can deal with it. I think underlying the assumption that we can't give everyone their scores is the assumption that young girls, or girls in particular, can't handle being given a low score. And I hate that, Chloe. I cannot stand that. I cannot stand anyone putting forward even the assumption that girls cannot deal with being told they didn't do well in a certain aspect. I get that girls get judged. I'm not talking about that. And so we can have a discussion about, girls are being judged too much, but that's a bit different. That's like societal standards and things like that and how they look. Yeah. But when you're going into a competitive arena, if I was going into it, and you can tell me whether you agree with it or not, I would want to know how I've done. And that doesn't come from a feedback like, you did really well, you should be proud of yourself. No, I don't need that. I can do that myself. What I need from you is you tell me what score I got, not so I feel good or bad, but so that I can improve. Further on that, if you are someone who can't deal with criticism, you need to get over that.
Yeah. I completely agree.
That's life. That's the world. So if you're going into pageantry and you want to be in a little bubble where no one ever says anything bad about you, even if that happened, you're going to go into the world and get a really, really bad wake-up call. Yeah. And just go on social media. You can see it's incredibly hostile at times. You can do everything right. You kill yourself to do everything right, and someone still wants to have a piece of you. Yeah. So now I understand maybe, okay, so when they're really, really young, okay, so maybe you still have the scores and you can tell people exactly what judge gave what score, but you don't maybe announce, let's say, last place. I can understand that. There's a bit of wriggle room for that. But I think I err on the side of I want to prepare girls for the real world, and that sounds really presumptuous of me, but I would rather train girls to deal with negative criticism than sugarcoat it and make them try to feel good all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like the immune response. If you're sugarcoated and you're in a bubble and you never have to deal with illnesses, your immune system becomes weak. It doesn't become strong, and then you get sick all the time. So I'd rather you have to roll around in the dirt a little bit, deal with your battles, and everyone's having them anyway. Like, everyone has critics, so why are we saying that we don't? And I'd rather you learn to deal with that and then become a stronger person than me build you up into this sort of false ego that everything you do is right, and then you go into the real world and the real world goes, what on earth are you talking about? Because I know that happens a lot. I know a lot of the people from outside the pageant world look at pageant girls and go, who does this girl think she is? Like, she's talking about all this stuff, and it's like, it's not real. So I'd rather push for that. And again, to me, it's about balances. So I think there are few too many people saying that we shouldn't do it. So I want to push the other way so that we can go somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying that we should do everything that I'm saying, by the way, but I always push for the counter. It's like I always look for people who have a different opinion to me, because I think that's when you learn a lot and you have a positive discussion. So for those of you who don't hate me by now, that's why, because I believe that girls are as strong or stronger than men, right? Women can deal with physically more pain than men if you've been through childbirth, 100% what I'm talking about. And in fact, the one sport where I think girls and men compete on an equal footing and women do better is in endurance swimming, in ocean races. And that's just dealing with pain, right? You're getting stung by jellyfish. I don't know what it's like to be swimming in Arctic waters, but women actually do better in that than men do on a completely equal footing. So I believe that women are strong enough to deal with criticism, and if they're not, then I think they need to be educated, men as well, but they need to be educated how to deal with criticism. Because how important is that? Rather than me taking away all the criticism and saying, you did fine, and I look at your score, you got 0 out of 20. No, you didn't. You did really badly. But here's how we can do better. That's the discussion that I want to promote. Not, oh no, you did fine, come back next year and you'll do better. It's like, no, you won't. If you don't know what to practice, how do you know you're going to get better? That's my view. Is it too harsh? I don't think so. But again, I'm always pushing for the counter. And I think there are too many people trying to mollycoddle the young women saying they can't deal with it, when I will bet you dollars to donuts that they can. And I think you saying that they can't does them a great disservice. That's my rant.
I mean, I can see it already in the comments that this is opening the floor for a massive discussion, which I think again is only a good thing. Now I know that Lauren's asked what one piece of advice, bearing all of this in mind, what you've come to learn about pageant girls, what one piece of advice would you give to pageant girls everywhere?
Don't surround yourself with yes people.
Okay.
That's all. So by yes people, I mean people who always agree with you and tell you you're the best. Don't do it. It's incredibly dangerous. Reevaluate. You guys at home can tell me what you think a friend is, a true friend. And you can tell me, Chloe, in the psycho group. I mean, do you always agree with everything that Lauren and Joe do?
Absolutely not. I mean, you know, obviously Lauren's preparing for Miss Wales and I'm doing my absolute best to help her. There's some things that she said that I'm like, okay, but can you improve on that? Is that showing your best self?
Yeah, and you see, I know that Lauren has given feedback, for example, on fashion and stuff, and said she doesn't like it. I know Danielle is very outspoken, sometimes a little bit too much, but I love her for that. But reevaluate who's in your circle, because it's not about quantity, it's about quality, and it's not about someone who's just going to tell you all the time, oh, Chloe, you're the best. No, you did the best. You didn't win. That's so unfair. It must have been rigged. Like, that's BS. No, you did really badly sometimes, and you want to know. I'm not saying that you want to be surrounded by people who are jerks, right? So you can give feedback lovingly, or you can give it back very bluntly. But again, if you're pushing for the middle, I think there are too many people, especially when it comes to girls, because there's a societal pressure on girls to be nice and appropriate. Yeah. And I think sometimes that prohibits them from feeling that they can actually say, no, you know what, I disagree with this. I love you too much for you to do this and me not say anything, because I want you to be the best you can. And, you know, I love you, but I think you should do it differently. And if we disagree, that's fine. But you need to have a circle of friends where you feel that you can disagree and it's going to be okay. You should not be in a circle of friends where you feel like, oh, I really want to say this. My soul's telling me I want to say this and I just can't because they'll hate me for it. Then you're in the wrong circle of friends. Now, what does that have to do with pageantry? Well, it's got everything to do with life. You need to be surrounded by people who are going to give you good advice. So if it's a coach, I hope to God that you've got a coach who will correct you when they think you're wrong, and you can again have that disagreement about it. If you've got parents who will hope, and it's very difficult for a parent, I understand, but they will tell you when they think something could be improved. But when it comes to friends, I don't want my best friend to be someone who just says I'm the best. I mean, my best friend and I have disagreed on a lot of stuff, and we're quintessentially different people. But isn't that the best part about life? You surround yourself with people who have different points of view, and that makes you more whole as a person and can help you make more educated decisions from differing points of view. So if I was to give people one piece of advice, because you asked me for one, and I'm not going to give three because that's what everyone does. Like, oh, I'm going to give three. No, I'll give you one. Look at your circle of friends and look who's in it and do an evaluation. And if there's someone in that maybe top 10 who's just taking up space, maybe get rid of them and replace them with someone else. You don't have to tell them that, right? But who you spend time with is who you become. As I was told, you lie down with dogs and you come up with fleas. I mean, that's a horrible expression. But the other way is saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? That's what they say in every aspect of your life. So by that logic, I am a pageant girl. I'm a pageant girl who's going mad in isolation, probably eaten too many cookies and is going slightly mad at the moment. That's probably who I am at the moment. But that's my one piece of advice. Look at your friends list and make sure they're not just yes people. Make sure they're people who will give you the God's honest truth, even when you don't want it, but they will do it in a loving manner because they want what's best for you. There you go.
Perfect. I think there's loads of people agreeing with that in the comments. Lauren has just said that as a group, we quite often disagree, but it comes from a place of obviously wanting the best for each other. Abigail has said her coach is brutally honest and it gets the best out of her. So how would you kind of on the side of obviously the honesty coming from a good place and just being brutal? How would you strike that balance?
I think that's where your track record speaks a lot. I mean, if I was ever to be brutal with someone, and I don't do it very often, but I get my point across, I think people know who I am. And I think, again, this is where the friends aspect comes in. Like, if you really know that someone has got your back and wants the best for you, even when they're brutal, you'll excuse it because you know they're coming from a good place. But again, on the other hand, if you're someone who's worried about giving advice because it's brutal, it's probably not. Like, if you're worried in the first place about that the advice you're going to give is brutal, it's really probably not. Like, you can look at people who give brutal advice and you're probably nowhere near that. So I wouldn't worry about it. I'd be more worried about looking at yourself and going, if your friend fails because you gave them dud advice, I'd be more worried about that. If you steered your friend wrong and you had something to say and then you didn't say it and that led them astray, or you could have given them advice and they would have done 10 times better, isn't that more of a concern than in the moment maybe a bit of hurt feelings? And you got to trust your friends enough that they're, resilient enough, again, to deal with criticism. If you don't want criticism, don't ask what other people think. Just run your own race. That's fine. But if you're going to ask someone, what do you think? And then they go, oh my God, that's horrible. Don't get offended. Don't get offended. It's that simple. Don't get offended. Practice not getting offended. I know it's not that easy. We all do. But that would be a great skill, to be emotionally resilient. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so that obviously comes down into pageantry teaching you how to deal with everyday life and obviously learning lessons and learning how to lose. Now, I feel like we've covered like quite a lot of quite deep things, and I hope that obviously pageant girls that are watching are following this and able to take advice. Now, we focused a lot about transparency and honesty and being revealing. So without further ado, can you please tell us about the person or the organisation behind your 100th interview and why you've chosen them to be your 100th interview?
Let's take a breather here. Those of you in the chat, I've given you the clue that the 100th interview was Harry Potter, and I told you not to be literal about it. So in the chat, I want you to guess who it's going to be, and I'll give you 30 seconds to put it in, because I can't believe, because at the moment I think there are 4 or 5 people who know, but I think Chloe is still the only person who's guessed it off my Harry Potter clue. So,
and the girls that I've told aren't allowed to enter. They're not allowed to guess because I had to tell them.
So the clue was 100th interview was with Harry Potter, and I told you not to take it literally. So, Lauren, Lauren, you don't listen, do you? I talk.
You just can't. You can't tame her. You say don't do it, and she goes and does it.
This is not about taming her. This is about her not following bloody instructions. Yes, it's Holly Perry. Because Holly Perry, HP, is Harry Potter. And for those of you who tell me that the clue wasn't a good enough clue, well, Chloe got it straight off the bat. So it's Holly. Why Holly? Well, if you tell me anyone who's more appropriate, I challenge you. Given the journey that I've been through, particularly over the last year, ever since sort of interview 40 or so after I interviewed Maria, and my question could be, why not Maria? Well, because I've interviewed Maria already. That's the only thing. I always have reasons for why I do what I do. I just don't often talk about them because often it's a long discussion and craziness going inside here, and I don't think everyone needs to hear it. But it is Holly Perry because I have put forward the hypothesis that the only reason that the family element exists in UK pageantry is because of that one woman. Because she owns multiple systems, she's got a good head on her, she can be trusted. Again, she's not perfect, none of us are, but I think without Holly, if every system in the UK had been run by a separate director, you would have had a similar situation to what we have here in Australia, where everyone's fighting everyone else, and then the industry shrinks because no one wants to be a part of that, and it just becomes silly. So, and I want to see if I'm right. So I want to interview Holly, selfishly, because I just want to find out if I'm right, and I want to ask her lots of questions. So that's who it is.
And I can see in the comments, everyone is going absolutely wild. Megan Goldberger has said, I agree, Holly is our glue. That's very true. Lauren has said, we all absolutely love Holly. So there's going to be a lot of love for that interview, I feel.
I hope so. But at the same time, if no one tunes in and I just get to ask Holly all the questions myself, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. With the little platform that I have, with the tiny, infinitesimally small amount of success that I have, I want to put my platform behind people that I believe in, that I think I want to promote because they're good people. So at the end of the day, it was that. Also, I wanted to interview someone I hadn't interviewed before. And it just felt like when I asked people what they thought, I was already thinking Holly. And then a lot of people suggested Holly. So it's like, yeah, I'm just going to go with that because that's appropriate. And she's got nothing better to, she's got her family, so she does have something better to do. But because everyone's in lockdown, now it's a perfect time to get people on an interview who normally are too busy, like Holly. Because I actually had Holly booked in before, and she had to cancel because she had to go somewhere. And she was worried that she was blacklisted, and I'd never want to interview her because she cancelled last. So there's your answer. There you go, Chloe. That's your reward. You got it, Holly. But you guessed it straight off, so you ruined it for yourself.
I just like the clue. Now, we have been talking for an hour, and I know in every Pageant Project interview, you ask the final 10 questions. So I just thought, even though we've swapped places, and even though you are technically Adrian Kwan today, I still want to do the final 10 questions. Is that all right with you?
Of course it's all right. You can do whatever you want. It's your interview. I can't tell you not to. I can just boot you off the interview and take over myself. But these 10 questions aren't my questions.
Where are these 10 questions from?
So for those of you watching, these 10 questions, with the exception of number 7, which normally is what's your favorite curse word. It's not about superpower, but obviously in pageantry I can't ask what's your favorite curse word. There's it comes from, I believe the first person was a French person, I can't remember who, but if you go into YouTube and watch a show called Inside the Actors Studio, which is a massive Hollywood, I can't remember the name of the guy who runs it. It's James someone, I believe. But he's interviewed people like Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr. He's had huge name actors there. And he took those final 10 questions from this French interviewer, and he finishes up every interview with these same 10 questions. So I just took it from him, and he took it from someone else. But they're not my questions. So if you ever want to look at answers, just go Google Inside the Actors Studio, final 10. To give you an example, he had Robin Williams on, the late Robin Williams, late great Robin Williams, comedic genius. And when he asked Robin Williams, what's a job that you would not want to ever attempt? Robin Williams thinks for a second, then goes, bomb tester. You just, and these certain questions are supposed to give you a really good insight into someone's personality. So, yes, Chloe, it's fine. You can do whatever you want. It's your interview. You can ask whatever you want.
Well, we could do like a 3-minute pageant interview, but I've been preparing for like the past 3 days, so we're doing the final 10, and I'll interview you pageant style another time.
I think it's funny how you got nervous, huh? Why are you nervous?
Do you know what? I really was. So, without further ado, final 10 questions. Adrian Kwan, question 1. What is your favourite word?
See, I thought you might do this, so I was thinking about the first one. My favourite word at the moment is not actually a word, it's X. Because you guys in the UK, you sign off everything with X, or XX, or XXXXXXX. And here in Australia, that you don't do that. because unless you're dating someone. But over in the UK, it's just a friendly way of ending it. And I like to type on my keyboard because I can type a lot faster on my keyboard than I can on my phone, and I can't type emojis on my keyboard. So I've actually I'm quite liking right now just X, because it means thank you or friendliness. So it's not a word, but that's your answer.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
I think should. When someone tells you, and when you keep badgering someone that they, there's something that they should do because it's the right thing for them, and they just go, oh, I know I should, and then excuses follow. I haven't had time, I haven't had this, or I'm just afraid, and it's like, I just do it. So I really hate the word should, and I always point it back at me. There's things that I feel that I should be doing. I hate that. So yeah, don't should all over yourselves, basically.
Okay. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
Oh, and for reference, that question is just supposed to be what turns you on. But I had enough people look at me strangely when I asked that question.
Yeah. So. In the UK, it has like a different meaning altogether. So what gets you excited?
It's just supposed to be what turns you on. Well, I was going to say good company, but it's not just that. It's bants, as you guys would say. Banter. I'd love just shooting the breeze with someone that I can talk about funny stuff or random stuff or really important stuff. Whether it's a business plan to change the world, whether it's someone who's got your back when you do need to rant, because we all do need to do that. I love a good conversation, and I wish I could have more of them, like the one that I'm having with you now, except there's a lot of people listening, so that's okay too.
We're having a good conversation with an audience. So in life, what turns you off?
Gossip. I can when you can even hear it. Gossip has a certain tonality to it, and I could just hear it, and I'm like, I don't care. The number of people. So if you ever wonder, and God forbid anyone from Southeast Asia is watching this, but if you've ever wondered why I haven't gone into, for example, some of those massive pageant strongholds within the Asian region, it's because the fans there scared the bejesus out of me, because they approach me and they talk about crazy things, and I want to go, oh my God, she looked beautiful wearing this, she was amazing doing that, oh my God, she looked horrible. I'm like, yeah, but what is she like as a person? And if you think that I'm going to interview or not interview someone based on the dress they wore, you know nothing about me. That is the least interesting thing in my life, is gossip. I don't care. I really, really don't care. So gossip, Chloe, don't gossip. I hate gossip, and I hate crazy pageant fans. There are good crazy pageant fans, and then there's the ones that go, whoa, dude, you need to breathe for a sec. Yeah. Like I've had a couple of them, and I know all of you guys have had it as well, but when they put those random creepy comments under your Instagram post and go, oh, miss, you so sexy, XXXX, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm just leaving now.
Just gonna go.
Yeah. So gossip. To bring it back to your question.
So, other than the sound of crazy pageant fans and gossip, what sound or noise do you love? Do you love?
I wish I could come up with a more interesting answer, but at the moment it's the sound of the coffee machine, because most of the interviews I do is 9 p.m. UK time, which to give you an idea is 6 a.m. my time, which to give you another idea means I wake up at 5 a.m. to get ready, because I can't wake up at 6 a.m. to do a 6 a.m. interview. So the coffee machine, when it clicks on and it's making that coffee noise, the world. I don't know how I'd be dealing with isolation if I didn't have coffee. Let's put it that way.
I can get on board with that. I think I remember our interview where our roles were reversed, and I just got in from work, and the first thing I did was coffee machine, then interview.
Oh yeah. You've seen. I probably should have had my Galaxy mug, but I've been overusing it, so I'm giving it a rest. So I almost always have a mug of something to interview with.
So, what sound or noise do you hate?
I I hate repetitive background noises because of what I do. So if, for example, the cat starts going off, or there's a baby crying in the background, or a dog barking, or a dog yapping, and it's not just the one, not yours because you're stopped, but one of my neighbors had a dog, and given what I'm doing, I'm trying to interview, and literally that dog would bark for hours and hours and hours. I know it's not the dog's fault; it's the owner's fault, right? But just anything that is yip, 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 yip. Yep, and it happens again and again, and I swear to God, I want to kill someone. I want to punch someone. Just stop. So anything that's repetitive and background really gets under my skin.
Okie dokie. I will never introduce you to my actual dog. The dog you heard was my mum's dog. My dog is a yip, yip, yip kind of dog.
Oh.
So, I can actually see Lauren in the comments saying, "What did you do to the dog?" Is it still barking now?
Lauren, I'll tell you that off air. Because I'm always someone who does something about things, so it wasn't good enough for me to sit here and get upset, and it wasn't my fault. So I did do something, but I'll tell you that off air.
Okay, we could discuss that another day. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, I've said this, but I want to be Iron Man. That's not a superpower, but I love the idea that everything that his superpowers come off his brain, because I love people who are intelligent and creative and can roll it all into one. So I would basically want to be Iron Man. I mean, that's why I have this facial hair. It's because of Tony Stark. So that's my answer.
I like the idea of that as well. So other than your own, what job or occupation would you most like to attempt?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but right now probably pageant director. I'll give it a shake. See how hard it really is. If you were a
pageant, what would your pageant ethos be if you were a pageant director?
Aggressiveness. I also am loving this idea of people who wanting to start their own business, which at the moment is a huge deal, right? So I would love some sort of pageant where it wasn't just, oh, you win, here's a crown, here's a sash, and off you go. I would actually like to take them on some sort of like a 12-month sort of program where you could get mentors in and help them build an actual business that makes a difference, because then at the end of 12 months, these women would then be in a position where they're much better off, but also they're a much better example for the people looking up to them. Like, there are some people who are amazing role models in a lot of areas, but in terms of the business and the finances and the career section, maybe that's not looked at very much. So I would love it if, and so many of you guys want to be entrepreneurs and start your own business or an app or a non-profit. So I would love that to be more of a focus and balance that with all the best parts about what exists in pageantry right now, and then balance it with taking it into the 21st century, and more entrepreneurial spirit, put out more social media content, do a live stream that doesn't suck, for God's sakes. Please, I'm begging you, so I don't, or Danielle doesn't have to stand at the back of the room with one of those things for 2 hours, because I can tell you it's bloody painful. I did that at Miss World Australia, and my arm still hurts, and that was like a year ago. So please, directors, make your live stream great, and if it's great, kudos to you.
Do you know what? I can remember Danielle. I feel like every Galaxy, other than obviously this year and last year, she was always there at the back of the room with a camera, live streaming for everyone. Yeah. So, obviously, what job would you then not like to attempt?
Oh God, this is a difficult one, because I'd probably give anything a go. But I think anything that doesn't engage my brain. So I'd probably say like a government worker or a local council worker, because my experience with them is that their brains haven't been used for about 20 years, and I'm sure they're lovely people, but you give them your problem and all they can do is read off a script. I'm like, no, you don't understand my problem, and they just read off anything that would dumb me down to that level where I'm just reading off a script. No. Maybe a telemarketer. No one likes those people. I'm sorry if you are one. Door-to-door salesman. Again, I'm sorry if you are one, but no, I'd set the dogs on you.
And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear when you reach the pearly gates?
I'd probably steal Danielle's answer to that and say, let's party. I keep thinking the 10th question is the hardest one. Like, what's a deep and meaningful answer to it? But I honestly like to go up there. Hopefully, if I do make it to heaven. Maybe after this interview, I should go down to hell. But I would just, rather than deep and meaningful, like a gin and tonic or martini or something. Like, you guys are fascinated in the UK with porn star martinis. I still don't really know what they are, but apparently they're a big thing over there. So some sort of just a cheeky bevy, as you guys like to say. Like, if heaven was literally the galaxy couch, like the galaxy after galaxy was over, if that was heaven, that's what I want. Just you reunite it with your mates, and you can have a good time. You don't need to worry about having to drive to London the next day. You don't need to worry about waking up the next day, and you never get a hangover. Then, yeah, pizza and bevies and good chats, good bands. That would be my idea of heaven.
That does actually sound pretty heavenly. I'd personally swap the gin and tonic to a gin and lemonade, because tonic's a bit too bitter for me.
Oh, I love dry drinks. Sweet drinks make me a little bit sick. So the GNTs, if you ever want to buy me a drink, buy me a GNT, because that's what I like at the moment anyway.
For letting me take the reins on the interview. When you're next over here, I will buy you a G&T. My mum will be in the other room going, she never buys me any drinks. So you will know that is a privilege. But Adrian, thank you so much for letting me take control, take the reins, and obviously have this chat with you. I think I can say for everyone that's watched, it's been incredibly, incredibly insightful. So would you like to wrap up our interview?
Yeah, how are you feeling? How does it feel being on the other side, being the first person on the left? How does that feel?
Very surreal. I just hope that I've done a good job.
Guys in the comments, and we did this with Ellie Corcoran and her Australian interview. If you think Chloe did a good job, put a thumbs up emoji in the comments, because Chloe can see the comments. And if you guys put up enough thumbs up emojis, then they will scroll to the top, and Chloe can get the reassurance that she needs that she did a good job. So please, someone put thumbs up emojis in there. You can start now. There's one there. They're all the actual. Yeah. Thank you, Molly. More thumbs up emojis. So how does it feel being the interviewer? There you go. How does it feel being the interviewer rather than the interviewed?
I really enjoyed it, because I think it's what I like most about you and what you bring to pageants is you bring your opinions, but in a way that is well articulated, so that if people did disagree, they at least had that reasoning behind it and they could understand where you're coming from. And I'm a big fan of that. I like someone that I can have a conversation with. So I really enjoyed it. I'm slightly less nervous now that it's.
It's funny. As I said, the thing I love the most is good conversation, and that by necessity means you can disagree, but still remain friends afterwards. And there aren't many people I can do that with, because I don't know if people know this, but I'm similar to you in terms of I do have a big brain. I don't know if it comes across, particularly in the TikToks that I share and the stuff that it makes me laugh. It certainly wouldn't make you think that I'm intelligent, but I love intelligent conversation. So someone that I can have that with is amazing. Look, you got so many thumbs up. So there you go. They just took a while because of the stream delay. And Lauren, I also saw your comment that I'm fired and that Chloe can take my place. I'm all right with that. As I said, I'm looking for someone to take on some of the interviews so I don't do them all and to other people build their brands, because it's not all about me. So if you want to take on an interview, Lauren, then we can see if you can do my job and I can do your job of just being supremely annoying all the time and getting drunk during a podcast on tequila shots. And yes, that's not a joke. So I'll just wrap up by saying, obviously, thank you so much to you, Chloe, for taking the reins. And as I've said, there's always a reason for doing what I did. I know a lot of people suggested that Lauren and Danielle interview me, and I love them to bits. The only reason that I didn't do that is because 2-on-1 interviews are a lot harder to manage than 1-on-1 interviews, and there was no way in God's green earth that I was going to pick between Danielle and Lauren. I don't want to go there. So I went, okay, who's someone that I know can interview? And obviously the answer is Chloe. So thank you to Chloe. Remember that the Kickstarter for our pageant review site is up there, and I have changed it. Please don't go to the Streamlabs one. That's a bit.ly link. So bit.ly, and the case is important. So please all underscore TPP Kickstarter. And if you do donate to there, it's all going towards a pageant review site. We're almost halfway there. And I was going to say something else, but I have completely forgotten what it was. Chloe, remind me quick. Oh, no, that's what... Sorry. Chloe has no idea what I'm talking about. That's why she looked like that. Next podcast night, we've been doing these gaming nights, and I'm always looking at what can I do a bit differently, because I, as I said, I'm creative. So the next one we want to make, and this may take a few nights, is an England, God forbid, England versus Scotland versus Wales versus Ireland. We already have people who have agreed to be team captains for England, Scotland, and Wales. They're now going to find their teams. So each team will be four girls, and we're going to have a little competition within that group. So get ready for that, because I expect that to be quite fiery, quite heated, and a lot of fun for myself. So yeah, look forward to that on this next gaming night. And if you're lucky, you might be asked to represent your country, not in a pageant, but in a completely trivial pursuit of who the best can be. And Chloe enjoyed that because she crushed Team Queen all by her. Did you get any amount of pleasure from that, Chloe? Crushing Team Queen by yourself?
Do you know what? I enjoy a win. I'm very competitive. Yeah. And I just want to say as well, Team England and Team Scotland, I'm half and half. So if you want a winner on your team...
I feel maybe Chloe should be excluded from the list of candidates, because I think whichever team she belongs to obviously has an unfair advantage. So captains, you are not allowed to pick Chloe. I'm going to put it out there. I might bring Chloe on as another host so she can join in the fun, but don't pick Chloe. So Chloe, you're not allowed to join any team because it's just completely unfair. But I'm still looking for a Team Ireland captain, which is why I put it on my Instagram story. And it's kind of between two people at the moment. You can probably guess who. But once the team captains have sorted out their teams, then I just need to work out exactly when we're going to do it. So I'll probably have a little round robin between the group and then have a playoff for first place. So look for that. And if you get invited, then you should feel excited, because that means they think you're the second, third, or top four in smarts in your country, which is pretty good. That's it. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you for having me. And if you guys thought that I did do well, and you might like to see a little bit more about what I'm about when it comes to interviewing, you can go to Chat with Chloe, which is down there. I'm very, very busy at the moment, which is just blown my mind. And I'm training girls for Pageant Girl, Miss Teen GB, Galaxy, even Miss Wales, which is just incredible. So if you'd like to know more about me, then please do get in touch.
Amazing. Okay, guys, look, thank you so much for watching. And I got a load of interviews up. Check the Facebook page. You see the events. And remember, the 100th interview, if you missed who it is, I'm not telling you again. You can find out yourself. That's your problem. But the 100th interview is, I think, not next week, but the week after. Thank you so much for watching. Again, thank you to Chloe. And we will speak to you next time. What's up, guys? It's Adrian again. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to head over to pageantlaunch.com. Join our launch team for our review site. It's super important to all of us to make sure that the industry is safe, transparent, and fair. So head over to pageantlaunch.com, write in your email address, and we'll speak to you next time.